If you're still trying to complete all of your faction wars for your Lydia the Death Siren, you might face the burden that I used to face like 2 years ago when I was trying to beat the Knight Revenants Faction Wars Stage 21, where the Wave 2 is the triple Valkyrie wave. It's particularly lethal because it is very difficult to beat if you don't have a range of legendary heroes, where those Valkyries are defense-based, they're tanky, and then if you put any sort of buff on your team, they put the counterattack up, and pretty much once the counterattack goes up, you are in deep, deep trouble. Now, we can talk about some of the legendaries that kind of make this video mute and pointless. Just briefly, one of them is particularly Shemnath, where they can remove all of the buffs on an AoE. This is really, really good. If you've got Shemnath, Shemnath will auto-complete stage 21 for you with this ability, because even when they put loads of buffs up, Shemnath gets accuracy for each buff on the enemy. So this is always going to happen. You basically grab it, remove all the counterattacks, and then you've got past the main issue. So long as the Valkyries have used their A2, they have no booked cooldowns, so it will take a while for them to get back around to the counterattack. So Shemnath kind of makes it mute and pointless. Bistorphus is also very good, but he is weak affinity because he now has the AoE block skill. So he is weak affinity, so you might have to roll it a couple of times, but he is also very good hard counter for stage 21 because he can block the ability for them to place the counterattack. Obviously, if you have things like Jorgid, he will one-shot it. Fortis is exceptionally good as well because he will apply a true fear. So there's lots of legendaries here, like Hegemon as well, block active skills. If you have some of these void legendaries or some of these big legendaries, Tomb Lord particularly used to be the old sort of free-to-play method, and I think he's available in that old life token system that Playroom seem to have forgotten about. Those were the kind of legendaries that can breach and just ignore this. But if you haven't got those legendaries, how do you beat stage 21? How do you beat the Valkyrie wave? Well, a lot of people would tell you that the best champion for this is Mr. Faceless, right? He's a void epic. Everyone's like, you know, Faceless is amazing for this. He has this A3 that ignores shield, block damage, and defense, right? So it's a true damage hit on a 3-turn cooldown. Doesn't need much setup. He does give himself increased crit rate here, but you've got to be careful about the buff. You don't really want to be doing that. So he just comes in and kind of one-shots it. And you would be right to say that Faceless is very good for it, but there is a better option. Now, of course, by now everyone's like, stop talking. We all know what you're going to say. You know, the Church of Whisper and all this noise. I'm talking about Whisper. Whisper for me is the premier solution to this content if you haven't got some of those legendaries I've talked about, because it does exactly the same thing. You just need Weaken, but it gives her increased attack, which means that you almost guarantee that you will one-shot without as much gear requirements. You also get a bit better rotation. She also has a chance to get an extra turn, so she could potentially repeat this multiple times if you put refresh on her. She is just, in my opinion, better than Faceless because Faceless is not going to have much long-term value for you on your account. In general, he's not a bad champion, but most people are not going to be reusing their Faceless outside of Faction Wars. And when you're investing in Faction Wars, what you want to try and do is pick out champions that you're going to be able to use in other places once you beat that Faction Wars, because you don't really want to make a rank 6 hero just to basically beat Faction Wars and then never use it again, unless you're really kind of like having unlimited resources. Whisper can go into all high-end content all the way through from early game, mid game, late game, end game, and be very successful in the top difficulties. So investing in her over Faceless is better in my opinion. What I'm going to do in this video is show you a budget version with Whisper of how I'm going to do it, and then I'll kind of show you why I can just blast through it now, because I've got some Void legendaries and a couple of other legendaries and the difference in power. So what I will say is my Whisper is giga charged. It is a 6-star Whisper. Naturally, as the head of the Church of Whisper and the chief preacher and the chief promoter of the Church of Whisper, one must have a 6-star fully decked out Whisper, which is what I've got here. I will probably be trying a Crushing Rend lethal build on her very soon, once I get a bit more silver. That seems to be obliterating my account right now, where I never have enough silver. So you do not need to be anywhere near these stats to make this work, but I'm just going to show you the stats that I've got. I'm not going to rebuild it down just for the content. That's very expensive. We've got 7.5k attack, 321% crit damage. The key thing you need to remember is you don't need 100% crit rate. She applies the buff before she attacks on the A2, so you can run with 70% crit rate, and then a decent speed. 191 speed is absolutely fine here. So I've got her in Relentless. It's actually quite a very good way to do. I would recommend Relentless particularly for wave 20, for floor 21 here, because you want to try and get back round to the A2 again to kill the Valkyries. It's also incredibly powerful for the boss. So what team would I recommend you run? Well, this is kind of like what I would suggest is a budget team. Luckily, we've got it open today, and it is also CVC, which is when I would normally run stage 21 here. So we're going to take up the legendaries. Whisper is obviously the primary champion here. I'm going to pull in some of my other champions. The other epic I would highly recommend people get is Thylesia. She is so good for this. She doesn't need books to do her job because she's going to place decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown, irrespective of books. She's going to increase the duration of those debuffs, irrespective of books. And she also spreads debuffs. Okay, she does with books there, but it doesn't really matter. She can also place Hex as well. And she wouldn't be a bad champion to invest in because she might make it into one of your Hydra teams being a Hex champion and the value that Hex has in Hydra. She's incredibly valuable. If you check out Dead with Jedi's channel, you'll see how much value that she added when I was running her in the faction games, the event where we had to run everything through Night Revenants. She was incredibly valuable for that. She kind of was a linchpin architect. So it's kind of like a linchpin base for all of my teams. She basically gave my team everything I needed. Then you will probably run something like Rector Drath. If you've got her, you can start an account with Rector Drath because you need to get the boss down. And if you haven't got the legendaries, the boss can kill your team before you can actually get around to it. Then you've got some flexibility. Now, she does need weaken. So you can absolutely use someone like an Ashwalker. Doesn't need to be the big weaken. It can be any weaken you want. So you can run an Ashwalker if you want. That will give you a bit of speed. Or you can run a Skull Crown because she has the AoE weaken as well. That would give you some AoE damage. And also if you run the sister with her, you get healing and some unkillable. So I'm pretty sure this is how I beat stage 21 originally, is I ran this team. The other option you can do is basically run a miscreated monster because if he stuns, he will place the decreased defense. And he also has a stun here. So you just kind of roll in the crowd control. You can run Golden Reaper if you want for more turn meter control, but be careful with buffs. This will drop turn meter if she doesn't place decreased attack, and you can recycle it, which is nice. Now, I got to remember if my Ashwalker is still built from when I was testing it in... No, it's not. We were running Ashwalker originally in the faction games to great success, I will add. It was a great success here. You can also run 2 Whispers if you've got to just like completely take it out. Bergoth's not a bad option, but I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. You can use him to provoke, but it's a pretty good chance, but it's not guaranteed, and it is a long cooldown. But it is quite a good option as well if you just need to provoke. All you need to do is control the wave. You just need to control them. Of course, the other champion I haven't talked about is Franox. Franox is also very good for just like nuking really, really hard. It can hit really hard. So I don't know if my Franox is built. I gotta remember which one of my champions here are built and not built anymore. So it's really, it's quite fun to try and realize what it is. I think this guy is not built. So let's just go and check some builds before we actually test this so I can showcase how exactly it will work. So I'm gonna run with this setup. We'll put super raids on for this test as well. So we're gonna use Ashwalker to set up the weaken. But Ashwalker also brings some turn meter control in terms of critically hitting here. And he will also bring some stuns. He's got some resets and pretty good damage as well. We're going to use Thylesia. We're going to revive with Rector Drath. And then Whisper is going to be our primary source for beating it. So we're going to go into here. This is the value of Whisper as well. She can deal with this wave. You will probably have to manual your actual 3-star run. So we're just going to throw this out. Be careful with the Black Knight. If you get him on low HP, he can one-shot your team, which you don't really want to do. So we kind of want to just get a stun out because we get that unkillable, see? So it's okay now because he'll lose the unkillable, but you've got to be careful of that. So we're just going to run through the extra turns. Whisper's going to be able to do a lot of damage. Obviously, the higher your build on Whisper, the easier it is to do that one-shot in capabilities. I'm going to extend those debuffs. I also have, I think, Thylesia in a provoke set at the moment just because I was testing her for Hydra when we were doing the faction game. So you don't have to run her in provoke, but it is kind of powerful, I guess, for this to make sure that they can't use their abilities. So we'll just finish him, reset the cooldown, and we're on to the wave. This is the nasty wave. Don't sleep on the Errol either. The Errol can hit incredibly hard, so a decreased attack is also very helpful. We're absolutely fine to put that out. Now we can decide to set the weaken. Get a weaken out here. So the first one we can take out is this one on the right. It's gone. Then we can start picking on the other heroes. That one's gone. Then you get the stun. So we did get unlucky. So this, normally you would need to restart this. We got unlucky. We didn't get the stun. I probably should have A1 instead. So you'd have to back out. The good thing is it doesn't cost you anything. Replay. Normally if that counterattack comes up, you are in trouble. and you need to move on and just basically run it again. So we can get that provoke out here. We want to get the stun on this target so that he doesn't do that. And then we can start just taking out these weaklings. So we'll kill this wave and we'll get back to wave 2. Okay, so we're coming back up to wave 2. Let's try that again. Put the decrease attack out on there. We also have a provoke set. I guess I had double provoke set up for Hydra when we were doing the faction games. So we put the weaken out. We got it on everyone, so we can take this. You see that turn meter boost does go up because she buffs herself. We didn't get an extra turn this time, but we did manage to get 1 stun. We are going to get counterattack, unfortunately. So again, it's just a case of can you get the RNG, but we'll play it through here. We might be able to survive it because we've got a nice shield. Normally, the counterattack is a bit of a problem here. You can see we start losing people because not much we can really do. But we do have a Whisper, so we could probably stun this one. Oh, we resisted. That's just bad luck. And we can get an extra turn off this, so she can kill that champion without a problem. And then hopefully we can take this out. She is going to get counterattacked. But here's the value of the extra turn passives and that extra turn on A3. You can cycle back through and get away with 1 counterattack there. So when we get onto the boss, the key thing that you need to remember with the boss is you have to kill the left head first. And it will send debuffs back to you. So hold your debuffs until the first attack. Kill the head on the left first. Just A1 it until that's dead. Because you need to just take away. This one will provoke you if you don't kill it. It doesn't revive the champion, so you can just kill it once and it's done. That's that smack of damage. Now we can debuff because that ability is what sends debuffs back to you. Now you can basically do everything you need to your heart's content. Rektodrath is here to heal, and off we go. So we can basically target this with an A3, kill it off, and we can probably just take this one out as well. And we're back on to the boss here. So I would advise you don't use Miscreated Monsters A3 because that's a 3-turn cooldown for the continuous heals. And what you don't want to do is give the boss continuous heals because he does have the health equalize as well. So you almost want to, if you're smart, you can bypass this weaken. You can bypass this HP swap if you're smart. Because what you can do is you can use your Whispers A2 to basically finish the boss off and break the threshold. So you'll see I'll hold it here. I'll wait. I shouldn't have done that A2 because now we're going to get the health swap. That's what we were avoiding. But unfortunately, we keep resisting the weaken because I didn't put enough accuracy on Ashwalker, which is just typical. But we can heal back up here. Rektodrath is probably the okay one. We got the weaken out now. So now we're good. And now the boss is just a case of one-shot it down before the 12 turn comes back. We will receive all these debuffs back, though, because we were refreshing them incorrectly. So you can see now we've got all those debuffs. We kind of need to, take lots of turns, otherwise we will die. But you can see the value of Thylesia here. She is pumping out a pretty good consistent decreased defense, which is great. Get some shielding out here. And we're going to finish this off now. Get that extension. Put Hex out. Do we get weaken? No, we don't. Heal up again. Is he going to put weaken? He does. Right. Now we can basically show you the value of the A2 here as well. It's going to ignore defense. What is it going to do? It is going to one-shot the boss once we get back around to it. Boom. Finish it off. So that is how you beat stage 21 if you are a budget team. Obviously, the gearing is quite high on the Whisper. You can adjust it down. It doesn't need to be so much. It would still do absolutely fine. Because it ignores defense, it will one-shot those Valkyries on a much lower build as well. Now, let me show you this team if I was using my legendaries to full power. This is why I think Shemnath is really good. We don't really care about this. We can put this in. We can bring the Whisper still to kill the boss. You could use your Walking Tomb Drang to keep everyone equalized rather than Rektodrath. And then you can basically bring whoever you want. I quite like bringing Bistophus because we get a big bulk of accuracy, so we don't need to actually bring any of this. We then just come in here and we can finish this off. So I'll get back round to wave 2. Again, we've got to be careful, though, of this fear. It doesn't always work, so ideally you want to lock out those abilities. And now you actually got to be careful you don't kill the waves too quickly because you've just used all your abilities, right? So you got to be careful. If anything, when you have legendaries, you go the other way where you don't want to kill them too quickly. Fortis comes in and does his thing, and we're to the wave. So we killed that wave way too fast, really, because we have nothing up available here now. We don't have decreased defense. We don't have the fear. So this is not the best test example. We don't have the lockout. So this is gonna show the value of Shemnath, essentially, because They're going to get buffs. There's nothing we can do about this. Here's the buffs. So we could probably put a fear out at least. That's that Errol damage I was talking about. So this is like disaster normally. You'd be like, this is impossible. We can't do anything. You know, what are we going to do about this? Well, Shemnath just comes in and goes, take away all of the buffs. Absolute giga broken. We still get counterattacked because the counterattack was on before you actually stole them. But now that it's clear, we can basically start cycling with Fortis, and we lost our Thylesia, but it doesn't really particularly matter because we still have these nukes available. I'm pretty sure Shemnath has no gear as well. I'm pretty sure I've taken all the gear off Shemnath, which is what I do often. I keep moving my gear around. It is never good. But Fortis is very good for these waves because the fear is just incredibly powerful. Again, we need to kill the left head, so we can put a fear out. At least we can activate the fear on the side allies. Normally, the problem we have here with Fortis is once the boss is the only thing alive, we can never activate Fortis's passive. It's one of the things I hope they fix with his rework, that there's a way for him to activate his passive, his hidden skill, when there's just a boss available, because it's actually very, very strong if you can scale it. The problem is once you've run out of things to fear, you can never activate it. You can't unlock it. So it becomes like he becomes a bit of a bot. You can't really do anything beyond that. So ideally, we want to keep that alive so we basically can activate it. You can see, I don't think we activated it again. So he's now pretty much a bot. Let's send some debuffs back, extend it. Heal up. See, he's now a bot. So all he's going to do is just A1. He'll just pump damage. It'll be good damage, but that's all he's going to do. Is just do damage. Because there's nothing he can do. Because he can't fear the boss. And the fear is what is required to unlock his passive. But you can see the value of Shemnath there. When you basically have all of those. You know, that was kind of like the worst case scenario where all of the buffs were up. There was nothing we could really do. And we basically just came in and removed them all with Shemnath. It's incredibly powerful. The A2 on Shemnath here is also very good because it throws all the debuffs back on the target. It also extends the duration of the debuffs and increases her own buff duration. So if you had a buff in here, you can see we can throw that away, extend the duration. So we keep the leech and the decreased defense up a bit longer, which is kind of handy. So that's kind of like what I wanted to do here is just kind of showcase the reason why I think Whisper is the best non-legendary champion for Stage 21 Faction Wars. I don't even know if we're going to be able to do this. We should be able to. It is the best champion because I think of the rotational ability of her abilities, her ability to basically one-shot the Valkyries, and then when she gets to the boss, she continues to one-shot things on the boss. Those are two ways that you can run Faction Wars 21. It's important if you need to get Lydia. It's also important for CVC because you want to run Stage 21 because you get the most amount of points. You get a lot more points on Stage 21. Most of the time, though, you don't need to run Stage 21 because the glyph drop rates are identical to 20 and 21. The only thing you really get on 21 is better forge materials, but I'm always capped on those. Let me know in the comments below, guys. Have you used a different combination to beat the Night Revenants 21? Do you actually join and subscribe to the Church of Whisper? If you're not, why not? What is wrong with you? Please welcome. We have openings. You can join at any time you want to. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.